There are images that disturb us, and then there are images that haunt us. This one was never meant for human eyes, hidden behind the walls of a house, painted by a man who had lost his faith, his mind, and possibly his soul. Francisco Goya's Saturn Devouring His Son, a portrait of madness, mortality, and the horror of being alive. But what if I told you this painting wasn't just about a myth? It was a confession. And what if I told you that the real monster wasn't Saturn, it was Goya himself? In ancient Roman mythology, Saturn was a god of time, merciless, patient, unstoppable. When a prophecy warned that one of his sons would overthrow him, Saturn did what only a god or a madman could do. He swallowed them, one by one. The myth is simple, the meaning is not. Saturn isn't just a god, he's time itself, devouring everything he creates. His children are days, months, years, and time eats us all. Fast forward to the year 1820. Francisco Goya is 74 years old, deaf, sick, isolated. The man who once painted royal portraits now lives in a house called La Quinta del Sordo, the house of the deaf man. There, in complete silence, he paints directly on his walls. No commissions, no audience, no reason, except to purge something inside him. He creates 14 works now known as the Black Paintings, and among them stands Saturn Devouring His Son. Goya didn't sign it, he didn't name it, he didn't even explain it. It was never supposed to be seen by anyone, until decades later, when workers found it hidden beneath plaster, staring back at them like a ghost. Look closely. A massive figure crouches in the dark, eyes wide with hunger and terror. His hands gnarled and trembling tear apart the body of his own child. Blood drips from his fingers, flesh dangles from his mouth, but the body isn't that of an infant, it's adult-sized. This isn't about a myth anymore, it's about Goya's mind. The background is pure black, no setting, no context, just madness in an endless void. And those eyes, they don't belong to a god, they belong to a man who's realised what he's done too late. By this point in his life, Goya had seen everything. War, death, disease, corruption, the execution of innocents, and the slow decay of his own body. His paintings had already turned political, grotesque, and nightmarishly honest. But the black paintings were different. They weren't meant to change the world, they were meant to exorcise it. He painted them alone, in silence, surrounded by shadows, as if he was documenting his final descent into the human psyche. So what does it mean? Why would an old man paint a god eating his child? Some say it was a metaphor for Spain, a nation devouring its people in civil unrest. Others say it was about time, an artist terrified of his own mortality, watching himself fade day by day. But look deeper. Saturn's face isn't triumphant, it's terrified. His eyes scream guilt. This isn't a monster enjoying his act. This is a father, realizing he's become what he feared most. Maybe Goya wasn't painting Saturn. Maybe he was painting himself. Imagine being trapped in silence for years. Deafness isn't quiet, it's constant noise inside your own head. You start hearing your own thoughts louder than the world. You remember every scream, every sin, every regret, until finally the line between memory and hallucination blurs. In that state, Goya painted Saturn Devouring His Son, not to shock anyone, but to confront himself, to look at what he'd become after decades of violence, fear and decay. The real horror of this painting isn't the act itself, it's the realization that Saturn doesn't want to do it. Look at his expression again. It's fear, as if he's watching himself commit the crime, powerless to stop it. That's what makes it human, because in all of us lives a version of Saturn, the part that destroys what we love out of fear of losing it. the part that feeds on our own potential, our own time, our own future. Every day time devours us, but we also devour ourselves. When restorers transferred the painting from the wall to canvas, they noticed something strange. Underneath the darkness, beneath layers of black and red, were traces of blue. Blue, the colour of the sky. It means Goya painted light first, then buried it. Maybe once this wasn't meant to be a nightmare. Maybe it was meant to be a warning. That time and power always end the same way, with the creator consuming his own creation. But look closer. The blue is still there beneath the rot, beneath the black. It fights to breathe, like a memory refusing to die. There's a rumour that in certain light, you can still see the outline of another face under Saturn's jaw, something half erased, half haunting, as if Goya painted one horror over another, layer upon layer, until the canvas itself began to whisper. They say he worked at night, candles burning low, the walls sweating with damp, and the sound of scratching constant, desperate. No one knows how long he spent in that darkness. Weeks, maybe months, trapped inside his own skull, while faces crawled out of the paint to watch him. Some claimed that by the end, he stopped using brushes. He used his fingers, smearing colour like blood, as if the distance between him and the horror was too much to bear. There's something monstrous in the stillness of that painting. The eyes, not just hungry, but pleading, like a god begging forgiveness from the thing he's about to destroy. You can almost hear the silence between the teeth, a silence that screams louder than war, because this is what eternity looks like, when love turns to fear, when creation becomes appetite, when restorers peeled it from his wall decades later. Some said the surface felt warm, as if the house had been keeping the painting alive, breathing through the walls, feeding on silence. No one talks about that, but maybe that's the final irony. Maybe the painting didn't survive because it was great. Maybe it survived because it wanted to, and now it hangs in a museum, behind glass, under white light. Tourists walk by it every day, laughing, taking pictures, completely unaware that they are looking at a grave that still remembers what it buried. So when you look at it, don't just see a god and his son. See the light that was painted first, and then drowned beneath the black, because every masterpiece is a mirror, and sometimes the thing staring back is starving. You've just looked into one of art's darkest corners. If you'd like to explore more, stories where beauty turns to nightmare, and genius walks the edge of madness, subscribe to the channel, leave a like if this piece unsettled you, and tell me in the comments which painting should we open next. Until then, keep your eyes open, because beauty and horror often wear the same face.